Love isn't always simple, and passion often comes at a price. Welcome to Intrigue Romance, where secrets, betrayal, and forbidden desires collide. Tonight, we take you into a story you won't forget, where love is never what it seems. I felt the air shift before I even turned around. A strange tension settled in my chest, like the kind you feel when someone is watching you. The kitchen was quiet except for the soft clinking of glasses as I arranged the dessert tray. But I wasn't alone. I knew it even before I heard his voice. "You look different tonight, Lauren." I stiffened. The voice was familiar, but something about it sent a ripple of unease through me. I turned slowly, forcing a polite smile. There he was, Nathan, my husband's best friend, standing just a few feet away, his eyes scanning me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. The party was still going on in the living room. Laughter, the distant hum of conversation, the occasional clink of bottles, everything sounded normal. But here, in this dimly lit kitchen, something felt wrong. I swallowed. "It's just a regular night, Nathan," I said, trying to keep my tone light. His lips curled slightly, his gaze lingering on my legs before flicking back up to meet mine. "That skirt suits you a little too well." A cold shiver ran down my spine. This wasn't just friendly banter. This was something else. A few hours earlier, the night had started like any other. My husband, Jake, had invited a few of his closest friends over for drinks and dinner. I had been excited about the evening, eager to host and make sure everyone had a good time. These were people we had known for years, friends who had been in our lives since before Jake and I were even married. Nathan was among them. He was Jake's best friend from college, the kind of guy who always had a joke ready, always knew how to keep a room entertained. I had never thought much of him beyond that. He was just Nathan, Jake's loud, charismatic friend. I had dressed in one of my favorite outfits, a sleek black mini skirt and a fitted blouse. It was nothing outrageous, just something I felt good in. Jake had complimented me before the guests arrived, pulling me in for a quick kiss. "You look beautiful," he had murmured, his arms wrapping around my waist. I had smiled, feeling a rush of warmth. Just trying to keep up with my handsome husband, the evening had been going well, full of laughter and conversation. I had been moving between the kitchen and the living room, making sure everyone had what they needed. But as the night progressed, I started noticing something. Nathan's eyes. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But every time I moved across the room, every time I leaned down to grab something or walked past him, I felt it, his gaze lingering a little too long. I tried to shake it off, but it was there. And now, standing in the kitchen with him so close, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I took a step back, putting distance between us. "I should bring this out before the ice cream melts," I said, my voice steady, even though my hands felt cold. Nathan didn't move. Instead, he reached out, just slightly, his fingers grazing the hem of my skirt for the briefest moment. I sucked in a sharp breath. It was quick, so quick that if I hadn't been paying attention, I might have convinced myself it hadn't happened. But it did. I set the dessert tray down with a thud, my pulse hammering. "Nathan." My voice was sharper now, no longer light, no longer polite. He raised his hands in mock surrender, a smirk playing on his lips. "Relax, Lauren. Just a compliment." My stomach twisted. It wasn't just a compliment. It was a boundary crossed. I turned without another word, grabbing the tray and walking straight to the living room, my heart racing. I sat beside Jake, needing to feel his presence, needing the safety of his warmth. But the night felt different now. Nathan didn't touch me again. He didn't say anything else. But I felt it, his presence, his gaze, the shift in the air whenever he was near me. I forced myself to stay calm, to act normal, but my mind kept replaying that moment over and over again. Had I imagined it? Had I overreacted? No. I knew what I felt. By the time the night ended and the last guest left, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Jake stretched his arms, letting out a satisfied sigh. "That was fun, huh?" I hesitated, then nodded.
"Yeah, it was."
But I knew I couldn't let it slide. That night, as we got ready for bed, I debated whether to say anything. Maybe I should just forget it. Maybe it wasn't worth making a big deal over. But then I remembered the feeling of his fingers against my skin, the way my stomach had twisted in discomfort. Jake noticed my silence. He leaned in, his brows furrowing. "You okay?" I took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something." As I spoke, Jake's expression darkened. The easygoing smile he had worn all evening disappeared. His jaw tightened, his hands curling into fists. "He did what?" he said, his voice dangerously low. "It was subtle, but it was enough to make me uncomfortable," I said honestly. "And it wasn't just that. The way he looked at me, the things he said, it wasn't normal, Jake." He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. He didn't say anything for a long moment, but I could see the tension in his posture. Finally, he nodded. "I'll talk to him." The next day, Jake confronted Nathan. He didn't yell. He didn't cause a scene. But his voice was firm, his words leaving no room for argument. "What happened last night was unacceptable," Jake said, his arms crossed. "Lauren is my wife, and in my house, she deserves respect. If you can't give her that, then you're not welcome here." Nathan tried to laugh it off at first, but when he saw Jake's expression, his smirk faded. "It wasn't a big deal, man." "It was a big deal," Jake interrupted, his voice like steel. "You crossed a line." Nathan didn't argue after that. He muttered something under his breath and walked away. After that, things changed. Nathan stopped coming around as often. Jake and I didn't talk about it much, but I knew he had drawn a line in the sand. And I was grateful for it. It wasn't about the mini skirt. It wasn't about what I wore.
It was about respect.
And no matter what, I deserved to feel safe in my own home.